We are always ready. Always ready. No, we're not all in this together. We're always ready.
All right.
It's the
Whenever
wrong
you're
one.
ready.
At the what?
Whenever you're ready.
Oh, well, I'm ready.
We're always ready.
We're always ready. We just said that. You don't seem to be paying attention. So we're always ready, except for the fact that I actually wasn't ready. But just in case you don't know.
Beep. Beep.
Oh my god!
Let's
Let's
go.
Oh my god, I miss CrossFit sometimes.
Okay, that's good. I miss it too. Actually, I do CrossFit on my own though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that, or do
No,
you?
of course I hear that.
Oh.
Where do you? That's my phone.
Oh, that's true.
What do you think it's coming from? A CrossFit box somewhere? Hey, can you guys put your timer on? No. Anyway, thank you for listening, folks.
Are we on right now?
I think we are. Are we on right now? Iggy?
Yes.
We're on right now.
Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome to the Valerie and Bennie Living Your Best Life
I'm so glad that you have to read that every time.
podcast. I do. But it's not that I forget our theme, like what we're trying to do, but I do forget.
You forget our names.
I do forget our names. But I'm Benny,
I'm Valerie.
and we are brother and sister. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. It's true.
And as if you listened to the first podcast, I am the brother.
Exactly. But we are very glad that you're joining us today. Hopefully this is going to be a great podcast. I hope you guys in your week and move you forward, and we'll get into the topic in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But this is the podcast where one of us chooses a subject. The other one is surprised. By the way, did you know it's my turn?
I hope so, because I didn't bring any subjects.
Okay. So this is where we surprise each other with a little topic that has to do with living your best life,
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but before we get to that, we just usually say how it's going. So how's it going?
It's going. It's going. I feel like last week was a really good week, and then I feel like this week went. Wah, wah.
Why?
No, it's just we just have some stuff going on at school, and I really honestly don't know who will listen to this. So I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, it just kind of weighs the morale down of the school, and so I mean a lot.
It's very
because
interesting.
it's affecting a lot of the staff.
It's interesting to me. I mean, not. I mean, I'm not. I don't. English is a second language. Okay. I don't want you to divulge anything that you don't want to. So I'm going to kind of go just say that it was an interesting week. And for me, it was also an interesting week. I was in a funk, which is really interesting how much we talk about flipping the switch. Mm-hmm. And for a couple of days there, I was...
Hard to flip.
Yeah, hard to flip.
Hard to flip the switch.
Yeah. So I really struggled with it. Mm-hmm. And so I did, in the sense that I didn't, lay in bed and eat caramels, but but I wasn't my best self, probably. And even my workouts. So I'm not even sure if it was mental or physical or both.
Maybe it's that time of your month for you.
Yeah, it could be. It might be.
Well, it's interesting because I kept that attitude all week long. Every time a situation would arise, and I would just
what is
what's
that?
going on in my class, in our school.
No, you said I kept that attitude. What?
That I wanted to flip the switch.
Oh,
like I didn't want to
right.
keep I had to cover a class for a teacher, and I was given no lesson plans or anything. It was just like, go in and do your thing. And thankfully, I'm a self-starter and I can just do my thing. And I knew the routine of the early grade, very very I think it was first grade I was doing. You do the weather, you do the calendar, you do all this. I get it. But then just to try to I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, nothing, I have nothing to go by. She didn't leave any, and so it was just one of those things where when I would start to get in my head about how frustrated I was, I would go, okay, just take a deep breath. It is what it is. Read him a book. So I read him a Halloween book, and just kind of but I had to keep reminding myself that because I would find myself getting into a little bit of a funk, you know?
Funk, yeah.
And then because like I said, it's affecting the whole morale of the school, I would have a break or I'd be on my lunch and I would hear people coming in and out of the lunchroom and they're talking about it. And it's just like, oh God, here we go again. It's more, more weight on the shoulder. So
I'd have them go play in the street. It'd be a very short class.
Yeah.
I'd never be asked to do it again. Okay. No.
Well, yeah, and that was the other thing. Okay, free play outside. No, I wasn't going to do that, but
Yeah,
still.
I would have been doing that. It would have been recess all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not good with. I used to. I was a substitute teacher for 2 years, I think, right, and something like 2 years, but it was only junior and senior high, and the whole time I would always. And it was part time. It wasn't. It was a couple times a week. I guess it just depended. But anyway. They love me. The teachers love me because the way I did my teaching is I would walk in the door and I would literally say, guys, if you look like you're doing what you're supposed to do,
You're cool.
you're cool.
Right.
And then I said, all I do is write notes down for your teacher. That's all I do is write notes down for your teacher. And so because I knew that substitute teachers have like no authority. You're not quite the substitute teacher because they see you around
They
the
know
school.
me. Yeah,
they know
yeah,
you and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're little kids, so they're a little bit different. But junior and senior high, it's like, we could do whatever we want. This person's a loser, And so I would say, I would just say, all I do is write notes for your teacher. And so literally someone would start talking and I would say, what's your name?
Right.
They go, Mike. And I go,
Oh.
and I
As
just
you
start
didn't really
writing.
write
I just
anything.
started writing. I did. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I literally said to the teacher, I'm just writing because I need them to think that I'm writing about them. But all of a sudden they would stop talking.
Yeah.
They would start, and then every once in a while this would happen. I would say, what's your name? And they'd go, Steve. And the whole class would go, like laugh.
That.
Then I'd find the quietest girl in the room. I go, what's your name? And she'd say, Karen. And then I go, okay, I'm going to write down that Karen said that his name was Steve. And then
Okay.
she goes, Mike. It's like, she's like,
Well, I would take it a step further and say, because if I don't know all the students, because like you said, I am on campus, so I do know a lot of their names, but I would just go, I have a seating chart right here. So I know your names because it would be.
yeah, but you're making the assumption that they're sitting in their seating chart.
Well, they're first graders. So you have the kid that goes, he's not in his seat. He's supposed to be, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So.
Man, that's an interesting accent. Where's that from? but I know that, but for me, it really worked really well because for the most part they did and then some kid, the really smart one, somebody who didn't want to do anything wrong, raises their hands and says, is it okay if I work as long as you do? It look like you're doing what
working.
you're supposed to
Yeah.
be doing. We're good.
Yeah.
But my whole 2 years, practically, I had to teach one class. I went to a junior high class and, this math class, I came in and she actually had things for me to teach. Yeah. I was like,
Oh,
what
man.
the hell is this?
I'm supposed to just take
I was like,
notes.
I don't understand. And so I literally had to teach a class. I was like, what would have happened if I didn't know math?
Right.
Well,
Thankfully,
it
if you're a
was like,
substitute teacher, you should.
really? You're supposed to know everything? What if I was substituting for chemistry? I failed No, I didn't. I cheated my way through chemistry and I got a C. I should have.
Well,
failed.
I don't know. I would never substitute in high school class, so I don't know.
Yeah. So the point is that I don't know how they expect you to do that but for the most part, I was appreciated because when I did junior and senior high, they did movies or they said, I've given them this, like they knew in advance. So they told them tomorrow, this is what you're going to do. So I just walk in and basically monitor the class. And so I did that kind of stuff on a regular basis, but it really was, I actually really enjoyed it because I had another job and I would do that job. I would be able to do that job the entire
While you're
time.
there,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was before
That's interesting
internet,
because
but-
all of the substitute teachers we have, they legit run the class. I mean,
But that's
teach.
elementary. What else are they going to do?
educate.
You can't watch a movie for 8 hours. In elementary school, it's the same class. See, for me, it's like you have one class for an hour, they leave, and then you do the same thing
that's
again, and you do the
true.
same thing
That's
again, and you do the
true.
same
Yeah,
thing again.
that's true.
So yeah, no. If it was, if you're in the same class for the whole day, you
Yeah,
have
that's
to
true.
teach. You can't
Right.
just stare at them. Yeah, you really didn't teach junior and senior high. But you went to junior and senior high, didn't you? You remember.
I was the good girl. I don't really remember many substitutes. I did my work.
Yeah, I did too. But I did talk a lot. Can you believe it? Me and Peter, actually, your
and,
husband.
You and my husband Peter got most talkative, and
Yeah, we talked a lot. So there you go. Anything else going on?
no.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Well, that's great. I will say, so let's just jump into it then. So my subject, look at how little I wrote, because if you don't talk a lot, I guess we'll go to bed early.
Okay.
So the thing is that I was thinking about something that we've been talking about, and I'm hoping that we're not going to say, I don't want to talk about the same thing. So I'm hoping that it's going to not be like the same answers that we always have to, that, you know, flip the switch, do this and do that. So what I want to know is, and part of me has, this is like a spiritual background too, but I want to know, how do you know that you're making the right decision when it comes to anything that's going on in your life? So I wrote down like 3 areas. There's like easy, medium, and hard, right? So an easy decision is, you know, what am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? Well, for me, sometimes what am I going to eat is a hard decision too. But what am I going to wear? And, you know, these kind of things are easy, right? It's stuff that we just kind of do every single day.
What am I going to wear? No, that's not easy.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just kidding.
So I guess it depends on our perspective, right? It depends on our perspective.
What am I going to eat?
Yeah.
That's easy.
For
What am I
me,
going to
it's
wear?
like,
No.
you want to know what I wear, which is so funny. I literally rotate my shirts, and I just pull the top one out.
Right.
And when I dry them, when I clean them, I put them inside the thing, so it's the first one I just pull out. That's all I do. And then even worse, when I'm coaching, because I coach online, what I do is I wear the same shirt every single time for the whole week. And then that way, the next week, they won't see me in the same shirt. So I take off the shirt in between.
Because you only see them once a week.
Because I only see them once a week. So if I have like a 2-hour break, I take off the shirt and I wear something else. And then when I get my new one, and then that way I know I don't wear the same shirt.
Okay, so speaking of clothing.
But wasn't that life-changing, though? Everybody should write that down.
I don't wear.
You don't wear?
Last year for my school, the whole school year, I did not repeat an outfit.
That is ridiculous.
And so I'm trying to do that again this year. I don't know if I can do it this year, but I did.
Every day.
Yeah.
What's the value in that?
Just for fun. There's
like
no
when
value.
You say outfit, what do you mean out? So you have like 365 different clothing items?
No. But if I wear like the same jeans, I won't wear the same shirt with it, or I'll wear a sweater or
outfit.
a different.
That's
yes,
right. I
yes,
forgot
yes,
about
yes, yes,
outfits.
yes.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So yes, it takes a lot of
Because Patty
thought.
tells me sometimes that I shouldn't wear. We'll go shopping for clothes, and she gives me, and she goes, "Ooh, that's a nice outfit." I'm like, "Outfit? I don't know. I just want a pair of pants, and I want a shirt that matches all my shirts, so I don't have to do any thinking."
But
Okay?
if you're Nicole, you call him Outfit.
Outfit.
ALFIT.
Oh, really?
She got so mad at me when I forgot what grade she was in. And she goes, I don't know what outfit to wear for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? She goes, I don't know what outfit to wear for blah, blah, blah. And I go, what are you saying? She goes, outfit. Like she said it all snotty. And like, I go,
Like you're an idiot.
Yeah. And I'm like, do you mean outfit? And she just looked at me like, oh.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anyway, go on.
And by the way, Nicole's your daughter, for those that
Yes.
don't know. So an easy decision is that, but apparently it's not. And then the second one is what to do today. Now, what I mean by what to do today is even in your work schedule. Sometimes maybe depending on your job, it's scheduled for you. You know exactly what you have to do. But if you're in management or certain roles, you have control of your day and what you need to do. And so how do you decide what are the first things to do, second things to do? What are the best things to do? What direction should I go? And then there's, I don't know if I even like the terms that I'm using. One of them is hard decisions. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if there is a better word. I just don't know it right now. And that is, who are you going to marry? What's going to be your career? What university do I go to? Do I go to university? Should I, so those are like, maybe we just call them bigger decisions.
Bigger, life-changing, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's maybe a way to look at it. So I guess that's it. So I'm going to leave the rest of the podcast to you.
So how do I handle those decisions?
Yeah. How do you handle these decisions?
I guess the easier decisions are just easier for some to make. And it's not going to be a crucial change of your life whether you decide on what outfit you're going to wear or what food you're going to eat or whatever. I guess it could be depending on the food choices you make. But in terms of the bigger decisions, speaking of like, who are you going to marry or will you marry? What is the question though? How do I make the decisions, or what was the initial.
I said the question that I wrote down, but honestly, as you well know, we could go any direction we want, is how do you know you're making the right
how do you know
the right decision?
Okay, well, I'm just going to say this, like for marriage, and this is just, I don't know if it'll poke anybody's,
Poke the bear.
If anybody will kind of relate or not. After I divorced my ex, I didn't want to get married again. And then, meeting Peter, moving forward into more of a relationship, I still really didn't want to get married again. And when I met him, he told me that he never wanted to marry. So I'm like, okay, this is a easy decision.
Yeah.
Like there's no decision that has to be made. No one's going to force one another to be married or what have you. But as time moved on, I realized that, okay, wait, I don't know if I want to live the rest of my life without this man. And I would like to be married to him, not just like have him as a partner, so to speak, or whatever. But I didn't want to say anything to him because I knew he never wanted to be married. So I thought, and him marrying me is a whole different ball game because I had 2 kids that came with me. And so I didn't want to say anything to him. The funny thing was we found out later he wanted to marry. He knew in his mind he wanted to marry me, but he thought, I know she never wants to marry again. So we kind of just lived our life not talking about that until one day there was we were actually at the South Coast Plaza and we saw this big billboard with an engagement ring on it. And I don't know, I'm probably going to get it wrong because I don't remember if it was me that said it or him that said it. It said, do you ever think about one day possibly getting married? And whoever asked it, the other person said, yeah. And then we realized we were kind of on the same page. So all that to say, that was the moment that I realized it was the right decision to marry him and not.
Okay, wait. So then let's backtrack.
Okay.
Because not that that's not a great. In that case, it's kind of one of these signs, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like not even just a sign though, but let's backtrack and say, and I don't want to put you on the spot with Peter per se. I'm really just talking in general about decisions, but I want to say, well, how did you know that to even pursue Peter to the degree that, I mean, what made you all of a sudden say, you know what, I like this guy and I'm going to stay with him and I really want, you know what, in this case, it sounds like there was a feeling like, I don't know, but tell me, you understand my question? It's because it's like that case. It sounds like that was like a, I don't know what the right word. The
Okay,
clouds
so are you
were
asking
aligned.
me like how I? Oh yeah, they did. Our worlds collided. They did, but how did I know it was him that I wanted to marry or be with in that kind of a relationship, in a serious relationship?
Yeah. How do you get in? Well, no. What I'm trying to say is that for a lot of people, let's just talk about relationships. So let's talk about the listener. They're in a relationship right now when they go, or all of a sudden they start dating. When do you make the decision and how do you make the decision that, you know what, I want to go farther. I want to move in with you. I want to marry you. Or for that matter, I want to date you. I mean, we're going lower and lower down the ladder.
Well, for me,
but how do you make the
and I know
decision?
that this is for Peter. I don't want to really speak for him, but we've had this conversation, so I'm going to say that I can speak for him. But for me, we both realized, and again, it kind of happened around the same time, I'm guessing, because the way our conversation went with it. I just didn't want to. We were having fun. We were having a lot of fun together, and then it just got to the point where we wanted to spend most of our days together. And then it was like, well, I did not want to spend a day not with him. And then, you know what I mean? It was just like it evolved. And so, how did I know to even pursue it and keep going? It was a feeling. It was for sure a feeling like I don't want to be without this guy. We actually, if I'm going to get into it, we actually tried to end it. We actually tried to end our relationship, not because we didn't love or like each other, not because we were fighting. We just thought
it's more economical.
Well, we're just
I just made that up.
No, we're just going into, we weren't going into different directions. We didn't think that we ever wanted to be married. We didn't want to hurt each other down the line. Like I said, I had 2 kids. It was like, is this really going to go somewhere? Like maybe, and so we just said, maybe we shouldn't keep seeing each other. And we legit ended it. It didn't last very long.
Was it an hour and a half?
I'm embarrassed to say, I think it was like 4 hours or something like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But we did that.
But we were young. We were only 27. How old are you?
I know I was close to 27. I was like 29.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was only 24. Whatever. But anyway, I don't know. I think we're going off on really big tangents. We're just talking relationships right now. But
yeah, that's the thing is that my focus isn't relationship is we go where we go, right?
Mm-hmm.
My real focus is making decisions. And so I even think about the fact that and so deciding who you're going to marry is a big deal. Patty and I, we have our story, which I will share, but just because we're not on, I want to move in a different direction. I'll share it a little bit later. But the thing about the other thing is just, okay, how do I know what career I want to do? How do I know if I want to go to school or I don't? These are big decisions that we make when we're young. And sometimes, and so what big decisions have you made and what was your filter to make it? Like, what was your... How did you
siphon it out?
Yeah. How did you process? Okay, so right now you might not be making a decision, but you are choosing to continue working at the school. You are choosing to do this. You're choosing to stay.
Well, I think that in general, when you make decisions, I mean, kind of my thing, we're making a pros and cons list, right? I don't know, what are the pros of doing this, whatever the decision is that you want to make, and what are the cons of doing it? Do the pros outweigh the cons? If you don't do it, will you regret not doing it? But if you do it, will you at least feel like, okay, I gave it a try, kind of thing, no matter what the decision might be? It's
interesting that you say that, because I don't know if it was Ben Franklin, I know this, but somebody stole an idea. It was the guy who wrote A Good to Great, one of the guys that wrote Good to Great. But he talks about, he has a decision-making process where he actually not just does a pros and cons, but it's like a pros and cons, very, like this dude is like really meticulous in saying, okay, here's the pros, here's the cons in terms of, okay, financial, and then, emotional, and then,
he breaks it all down.
So he breaks it all down,
yeah.
and then he actually numbers them accordingly, and then he comes and he actually gets a number and he goes, all right, that one looks better. And so now, but that takes a really certain personality to like adapt that, for one, just to have the discipline to actually do something like that. This is the same guy that actually rates every day of his life. He literally rates them, and then he identifies when he has really good days and says, what did I do that day? So I can continue to do that so I can have better days.
That's just too much.
Yeah, it's super disciplined. I don't think he does anything but charts. And so, no, I'm kidding.
Sometimes you want to go by the feeling too,
books.
not
no,
just,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean?
That's why I'm saying that he's a very unique personality. Yeah. And then but see, what's interesting is that you're saying, well, I guess you do a pros and cons list and stuff like that. But when you were talking about Peter, which again, I'm not trying to get in relationships, you never even mentioned that. You mentioned a gut feeling. So that's an interesting thing. So your gut feeling, because there's another great book called Blink that talks about that first thought, the first thing that comes in your mind. That's really the drive that we have. And then we kind of mix it up. And then often we go right back to our original idea, no matter what the good and bad list says.
For sure. And yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of times you should go with your gut. And even though I didn't physically write a pros and cons, I did ask myself, what would it be like if I didn't, pursue this relationship to go further into marriage? Or what would it be like if I didn't, so it's kind of always in my head, whether I actually write it down or not. But I do agree with, the gut feeling is your first instinct is usually the best instinct, and then people try to they try to go on and on about like, but what if, and then at the end of the day, they're going back to what their gut was, their gut feeling was. And so you overanalyze something sometimes where it just becomes overwhelming. And
this Blink book that I was telling you about, it's interesting because he uses it's the same dude that does the 10,000 hours thing. I can't remember. I'm really horrible at rote memory, but what he uses a story in there about how there are these, there's a statue, not a statue. What are those things called? What's the thing of David? It is the Statue of David. Is that what it's called? Or and so there was some ancient statue, and then there was a guy who walks in and he looked at it, and his immediate reaction was, it's fake. It was either fake or real. I think it was fake. But then they people did all these metallurgic, all these tests on it to see how old it was and what it was and da-da-da-da. And he was like, I can't tell you why. I just know I'm an expert in this. And he looked at it and said, it's fake. And in the end, I think they certified it to be not fake, if I remember correctly. And then years later, they discovered it was fake.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, the dude was right.
Right.
But it wasn't like he needed all those little tests.
Right.
It was like he needed, the gut feeling said there's something wrong with this thing. And it is fascinating. So how would you define the gut feeling? One thing that you have mentioned more than once on this podcast, and I certainly am a person of faith. You're a person of faith. So where does faith come into these decisions, and how do you make decisions, or do you make decisions?
That's
faith?
a really good. I can't believe. Okay, let's rewind because yeah.
Iggy, did you get that?
I pray about things, so that would be one of my. Yes, I do pray about decisions that I
You
make.
liar! You don't either.
I just rewound.
No, just kidding.
No, I don't pray about my clothing, but I do pray about certain decisions. Yeah, for sure. That definitely comes into play for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's an interesting thing because, okay, so then let's go along that. If prayer is part of what you do, how do you know when God is telling you what to do and what not to do?
My gut.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But see, that's the whole thing that's interesting to me, and I guess it's not where I was going because I honestly didn't really have a particular direction. I just know that people have to make decisions, and we're constantly making decisions. And decisions bog us down, especially unmade decisions that are just rolling around in your head all the time. And when we never make those decisions and they just continue to just go around and around and around, I find it very common with life coaching that people who are saying, I'm just all messed up, or they feel like out of sorts. They feel like things are chaotic and stuff like that. More often than not, I can simply say, you have decisions that you know the answer to, but you just don't want to make them. And you're putting it off on purpose. You're putting it off because you think it's wisdom. You're saying, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it by Friday. You already know the answer, but you're going to make it on Friday.
Yeah. It's like having, we've heard this before, and I'm probably going to misquote how it's actually said, but having your computer open with all these tabs. You have all these tabs in your head open, and it's just hard. It's like spinning the hamster wheel thing, because you never have a concrete place to stop because you don't sit down and actually make the decision or whatever. Yeah.
And there's fear in that, right? And it's not just procrastination. I'm not talking about procrastination, because procrastination a lot of times is more in relation to, I just don't want to do that work, whatever that work is, So that's more of the procrastination side of things. This is not procrastination. This is just, when I make this decision, I'm making a big decision. Like it's something that's going to happen and change, and I need to be careful about how I make this decision. Did I say something that triggered you? Oh, okay.
Listen to this. You just said this. I just reshared this on my stories yesterday. It says fear has two, fear has two meanings. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
And so that's an acronym, obviously, for fear.
Yeah.
But the two. And so that kind of just what you said is right, because you can either face it and move on and make that decision and just go, or you can sit there and just keep spinning the wheel and not.
And that's what leads to a lot of people feeling chaotic in their head, feeling they feel confused, and they're really not that confused. They just don't want to make the difficult decision, whatever that decision is. And then I find it particularly interesting with spiritual people, godly people, because they always say something to, especially when I was a pastor, this was super common. People would say, well, I want to know what God's will is for my life. And what I always turn to, and maybe I'm gonna really somebody's gonna get mad at me about this, but it's fascinating to me, because in the garden you couldn't eat the apple. I mean, that was like the thing, right? You don't eat the apple. So then what could you do?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah. Everything else.
Oh. You could not eat the apple.
Yeah, that's the thing. But see, here's what's so funny. Is that's what everybody focuses on. They focus on the fact that I can't eat the apple.
True.
When in fact, you can go water skiing.
Yeah.
You can go fishing. You can marry that person. You can go there.
But then what do you focus on?
I'm pointing my hands for all the people that are listening.
Yes.
So you can move around. You could go and do whatever you want.
Right.
just don't eat the apple.
But it's true though, because it's the way you phrase things as well. And I think we talked about this on another podcast when you are, your child is running and they're running toward the street instead of, or even, I don't even know if they're running toward the street, but you just don't want them to run. Instead of saying don't run, you tell them to walk. You rephrase it so that they don't hear
stop.
Or stop.
Yeah. Or something like that.
Yeah.
The point is that we focus on what we say. If I tell you right now, don't think of an elephant. What do you think of?
The elephant popped in my head.
Yes. And so it's the same thing when I said about the apple. The first thing you thought of, I said, what can you do? And you're like, I don't know. Well, this is a garden. This is the whole entire world.
Right.
And we get fixated on the thing we can't do.
It, yeah.
And I think in the spiritual world and the godly world and the Christian world and people that are focused on, I want to do what God's will is, they're so focused on not crossing the line and making a mistake that they miss out on everything because they're so focused on the apple. And it's like, just enjoy life and then God will direct you.
Sure.
We shouldn't be like freaking out about these incidental things, which I mean, and here's the thing, it's interesting is that obviously marriage we wouldn't call an incidental thing, right? But here's my story with Patty, which this was back, we were 20 years old when we got engaged, right? Yeah, we were 20 years old when we got engaged. And I remember praying and I was freaking out, and I talked to somebody because we met in Hawaii and we got engaged in Hawaii, and then is my dog snoring like big time?
Yeah, it's picking up on the microphone.
It's picking up on the microphone.
Funny.
Sorry, it was Trinity. And then I'm just kidding. So anyway, but I was really praying, God, please, God, tell me if this is the right thing. Is this the right thing? Because Patty basically said, because I wanted Patty to come back to California with me.
Yeah.
And Patty said, I ain't going if I don't got a ring on my finger. And so I was like, well, I got to get a ring. And so the point is that I said, I'm going to God. What is this the right person? Is this the right person? Is this the right person? And I kid you not, it was like one of the only experiences where I so clearly heard God. And he said, it's okay with me. And so everybody wants me to say, yes, Patty is the one. She is perfect for you. And I have designed her specifically, for you, etc. No, he was like, it's all right with me. I don't know what you're whining about. Because I think what God is saying is, hey, she's a good girl. She's a good person. She's trying to live her best life.
Yeah,
You're
you
trying
don't
to live
need
your
me to
best life.
present her on my hands.
Yes, this is not like one of those things. And everybody out there who's sitting there saying, no, I believe that God's got the right one. You have to admit that some people got the wrong one, which means the people that were supposed to marry them also married the wrong one, which means those people also married the wrong one, which means none of us are married to the quote unquote one. And so I see it as God says, don't eat the fruit. Go enjoy life.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes our decisions, we get so bogged down in certain decisions. I used to do this in church life too. Somebody's going to listen and go, yeah, you did that to me. But I remember people would say, when I was in youth ministry, and I would ask people, do you want to work? Do you want to volunteer in youth ministry? And they would say, these really godly folk. And they would say, I'm really waiting on God to tell me where he wants me to work. And I said, all right, well, wait in the youth ministry.
Yeah. Until you get that answer, why don't you help me out?
That's what I said. I said, you can wait in the youth ministry. As soon as he tells you where to go, you're out, man. I'm golden. I'll applaud you on your way out. And it was like, they were like, oh, that didn't work out well. I was like, I mean, you might as well wait in the youth ministry than in the pews. And that's the thing is, I think a lot of people miss out on life, whether it be because of religious reasons or because of just even your own thought process and wanting to do it right.
Or just seeing the sign, whether you're a believer and have faith in God or any other, higher power, what have you, just waiting for a sign that may not actually come to you. You may not see the sign till after you make that decision.
That's right. I love that because it's really sometimes the afterwards that we start walking in faith that, the famous, very spiritual movie, Indiana Jones, when he's at the bridge, remember he's at the bridge.
Don't ask me, do I remember? I've never seen Indiana Jones.
You've never seen
I have
Indiana
never
Jones?
seen
Oh my
Indiana
gosh!
I went on the ride at Disneyland.
Oh, I have to write this down. This is a podcast in the future. Just Indiana Jones movies. I'm kidding. No. So there's a point in the Indiana Jones movies where he has to step out in faith, and it looks like it's a chasm. It just looks like it's a huge. It doesn't
Drop
even
or
have.
whatever.
Yeah, it has like no bottom, and he has to step out in faith. And what is it? The something of a penitent man shall pass. And so, oh no, that's the other one where he almost gets his head sliced. So, but he gets to this bridge and he finally just steps out in faith. And when he steps out in faith, what he realizes is,
He died.
yeah, and the series ended. Okay. No, he steps out in faith and there's a bridge there, but it was colored or it was painted the same color as the chasm. So he couldn't see the bridge. He didn't see it. So it wasn't until you walk.
Right.
That
Oh,
you
see,
all
that
of a
really
sudden
tied into what
experience.
I just said.
Exactly. Why do you
Right.
think I did it? You need to get into Indiana Jones. So the point
No, that's very true,
what I'm really
though.
trying
Yeah.
to say about and you know, let's just talk about decisions. So there's the easy. I will say this. I think sometimes we make obviously
Easy decisions hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
We make some easy decisions hard, including what to wear. Because some people are so concerned about what other people are going to say.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And how do they look and this and well, I mean, everybody's concerned about how you look at some level, but when we're really concerned and it controls us, then all of a sudden it's going through our mind. What is that person thinking of what I'm wearing? What's that? And when we carry that weight, it actually is an issue for us.
Right.
It's a problem for our life.
Yeah. I think if you do anything, and I shouldn't say anything, I'm going to retract that. But I think if you do something, especially like clothing, if you're doing it for someone else or you're doing, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. Like, I feel like you should just feel good in what feel good in
your own
yourself,
skin.
in your own skin, in what you're wearing. There's many times that I get dressed. You guys know me. I get dressed for the day, and it's usually I'm dressed for the day. I don't wear workout clothes on a regular basis unless I'm working out. I don't wear tennis shoes. So there'll be many, many times.
Did you see her face when she said, I don't wear tennis shoes? Who would do such a thing?
No, I'm just saying,
you know
like,
that there's like $800 tennis shoes now or thousands
no, it has
of dollars?
nothing to do with how much a tennis shoe costs. I wear cheap clothing. I'm talking about that's just how I like to feel in my own clothes, but I'm not doing it for anyone. And like, the funny thing is there will be a day like, if I'm, let's say going to babysit the grandbabies and I throw on overalls and just like my Converse and Peter will go, oh, you look so cute. I'm like, thank you. And he likes when I dress kind of like that. Like he's not saying that he doesn't like the way I dress when on a daily basis, but he loves when it's a little down because he likes to dress a little bit down, if you will, and not down.
That's the wrong word. Casual.
Casual. So all that
you don't even know the right phrase.
I don't even know. All that to say, I'm not going to dress casual or down, whatever word you want to call it, just because Peter always thinks I'm cute like that. I dress for myself. I don't dress to please any of my coworkers. I don't care what you guys think about my outfit. It's just how I like to dress. And so,
other than you walked in here and said, "Did you see my socks?"
Yeah. Well, because they're very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you can't see that if you're listening to the show, but they're orange and black. We had a crazy sock day. But anyway,
Isn't that crazy?
But I think that if you're doing it for other people, then it could be a problem, especially if it's limiting your ability to make the decision.
Yeah. Well, that's the issue. Going back to where we're at, some of you are out there today and it's like you're in the middle of making decisions and you have certain decisions and honestly, you probably know what decision you need to make, and not making a decision is making a decision.
Absolutely,
you're still not doing something.
Yeah.
So where am I going to live? Do I buy a house? Do I rent a house? Do I? I mean, sometimes those are easy decisions, right? Like I don't have the money, but on the other hand, if you do and you're just pondering what am I supposed to do, and then a big decision, at least in LA, or I guess it's anywhere, but where do I live?
Yeah.
Where do I want to live? And do I want to live near family? Is that more important than living in a place that's more economical? Or is that would the best thing for my family be to do? So,
well, that's funny that you're saying that, because that's actually a decision that we've made, because we weighed the pros and cons, living here in LA, where $1 million house is a fixer upper, 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in our area, and literally a fixer upper? Or do I move to another state where it's very feasible to buy a house? And you can even get the land and the bedrooms and everything so that you can have family over and all this stuff. But there's no family around you. So our decision is to be
here. Our family, a family in Missouri who I know, and I saw their house on Facebook, and it's a 3,500 square foot house, if I remember correctly, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Their living room, their master bedroom is our living room. And you're going to laugh. The whole house, land, everything, $450,000. So you couldn't buy my $1,000 square foot house. 1,000 square foot
it's
condo,
crazy.
or what is this thing called? A townhome.
Yeah.
You're going to buy that. You couldn't buy this for that.
Yeah.
So, it really is. It's amazing. But getting back to the fact that you're making decisions and people are making decisions. And so we're just out of time. I can't believe how fast this went. But do you have anything you want to share about, kind of sum up I'll do something.
No, but I do agree with you that I think not making a decision that if it's in your mind, if it's been something that, you've been thinking about, and you're just not making the decision because you're waiting for the right time. I kind of feel like I kind of like we talked about with this podcast, like I feel like make whatever decision it is, if it's weighing on you and if it's pulling at you, make that decision to do it, try it, and if it's and fail and if it didn't happen, at least you tried it, because the worst thing that could happen is that you go, okay, that wasn't the best decision. I'm going to go back to plan A, whatever.
I even question that thinking. I'm not sure I would say it's not the best decision. I would just say, hey, that decision led to this, which is now going to lead to this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not even, that's another thing.
I think regret is the biggest thing. If you don't do it, well, you always sit there and say, well, what if I did try that?
What if I tried
What if
it?
I did? What if I,
one of my favorite movie of all time is Good Will Hunting. Mm-hmm. And I always forget. And I loved it because main character? Robin Williams. Robin Williams says in this show, he talks about how he had tickets to the World Series and he slid the tickets away because he said he met the most beautiful girl in the world, and that's the woman that he married. And if you haven't seen the movie, you have to see the movie. It's as crazy as not seeing Indiana Jones. But
I have seen Good Will Hunting.
Okay, but the point is that it's like he said, man, don't you regret not going to the World Series? He goes, you know what? I'd be sitting here right now regretting not having that woman. And then he later, as a joke, says, but I didn't know he was going to hit a home run and finish. But anyway, the real thing that I'm getting at is there are all kinds of decisions we make. There are easy ones, there are hard ones, there are ones that have more consequence. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. There are decisions that have more consequence. If you're out there thinking, what the Bible says, there's wisdom in much counsel, that's true. But more often than not, when we're continually pursuing much counsel, what we're really trying to do is blame somebody else for the decision that we ultimately want to make or don't want to make.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. And or just prolong it.
I actually think, I actually have said this to people too. I'm sorry. But I actually believe that some people want to blame God for their decisions. So that's why they say, I'm waiting for God to tell me. And what they're really saying is, I don't want to make this decision.
Yeah.
So until God writes it on the wall, and then if it doesn't go as planned, I can go, well, see, God? And it's like I can blame him. And the truth of the matter is he's saying, dude, don't eat the apple. Play in the garden.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy yourself. And honestly, I don't think that there are all these different lines that people are so concerned about crossing, and they miss out on living their best life.
For sure.
Because they're stuck.
Well, and you're talking about like marriage as being one of those hardcore decisions. And, I obviously I come from a divorce. I was married and divorced. But I don't regret that decision of marrying him by any means at all. Like I have 2 beautiful children from him. And, it's like, you can say, oh, that probably wasn't the best decision. Obviously, we're still not together. Was it God's will for me really to marry that man? But I learned a lot from it. And I have 2 great kids.
You learned a lot from it. You took that into this relationship. You're the person that you are today. I have absolutely things that I regret in my life, and perhaps one day I'll get into it. But the truth is that there's things that I absolutely regret, but I'm very grateful for the person that I've become because of it.
Exactly.
And so I can just say that even though not every decision, the ultimate, destination doesn't go the way I had planned.
Right.
The journey is really what's important. We've said that before. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. But anyway, well, we're very glad you're listening. I hope that if you're out there having to make a decision that you've got something out of this and that you could say, I don't know if you did or not, because I'm not sure if I did. We talked a lot. So hopefully you can just say, yeah, I have some decisions to make. I gotta go for it. Get them out of your head. Those big quote unquote decisions, feel free to ask somebody, but in the end, make it. You can do it. And,
you can and even if you decide not to do it, just then make the decision not to and get it out of your head.
Get it out of your head.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there you go. If you have questions or comments or anything that you'd like to share with it, I'm at Bennie, at Bennie Gonzalez in Instagram. So I'd love to hear from you. And also I am, the wad is over. And then, Patty, what is your name?
My name is Valerie, and I'm at A Daily Dose of Cocoa.
That's right. That's my sister, Valerie, at A Daily Dose of Cocoa.
I think we better say goodbye.
Yeah, okay, we're going to say goodbye. We're really glad. Hey, it was fun.
It was.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
See you next time.